Archangel Michael says, they walked away from you thinking they had the upper hand, thinking you would break without their presence. But when they saw you recently, something inside them froze, because you were glowing with something they never expected. You were not just surviving, you were blooming into a version of yourself they no longer recognized. You were the person they underestimated, counted out, and walked away from without remorse. But now, standing on your own 2 feet, something sacred has taken over your presence. Your spirit grew louder than their ego, and they couldn't believe the reflection staring back at them. They had moved on as if you were just a memory, but now you've become the moment they cannot forget. They noticed your posture, your aura, your silence, and it screamed louder than words. Their heart trembled for a second, not because you said anything, but because of what you've become without them. Type Amen to get blessing 333. They thought time would turn you bitter, but it made you wise. They believed leaving you would leave you hollow, but you filled yourself with light. Your transformation is now their greatest regret, and they're struggling to understand how they missed the diamond growing under pressure. They were expecting to see the old you, broken, pleading, or small. Instead, they saw the version of you that grew beyond them, that alone caused something deep within them to shift like an earthquake of realization. You didn't need to speak or prove your worth, the silence around you told a story they couldn't ignore. They weren't ready for this version of you, and that's what has left them breathless. You've turned your pain into power, and they saw it all in one glance. Type Amen to get blessing 975. Archangel Michael says, your elevation wasn't accidental, it was spiritual, divine, and necessary. You didn't just evolve, you were chosen to rise where others fell. What they saw wasn't just growth, it was destiny manifesting in front of their eyes. They paused when they saw you. Not because you called their name, but because their soul did. That moment was more than coincidence, it was a reckoning. They walked away thinking they would always be above you, but now they're left wondering if they ever even knew who you truly were. They expected you to need them, but instead, they're the ones haunted by your absence. You became unforgettable when you stopped chasing and started becoming. Type Amen to get blessing 117. You didn't beg for closure because life became your response. Your glow, your silence, your newfound path, it all told them everything they needed to know. And still, they aren't sure how to make peace with what they lost. They noticed you from afar, eyes lingering just long enough to feel the discomfort of their own decisions. They didn't recognize the way you walked with grace now. As if heaven had kissed your forehead and whispered strength into your bones, that vision of you will replay in their memory again and again. No matter how much time has passed, their soul knew yours. And in that moment, when their gaze locked onto your growth, they understood what they had done. They left the one who was destined for greatness. Type Amen to get blessing 662. What hurts them more is knowing they cannot approach you the way they once did. Your energy has changed, you're no longer accessible to their level of immaturity. You have become a door they no longer have the key for. They keep replaying that moment. The brief glance, the shift in your energy, the warmth in your smile not directed at them. It wasn't revenge, it was revelation. They left you thinking they were irreplaceable. But when they saw you standing taller, laughing harder, and glowing brighter, the truth pierced through their pride. You were never theirs to keep, you were always meant to soar. Type Amen to get blessing 844. Archangel Michael says, they saw the light around you and knew they were no longer part of the story. You were wrapped in divine armor, and your path no longer made space for those who brought chaos. They tried to look away, but your radiance wouldn't let them forget. They turned a corner and found themselves face to face with the very version of you they never believed could exist. A version that healed, a version that smiled from the soul. They wanted to believe that you faked your joy. But it was too authentic, too untouchable. And that truth is what's eating away at them. Type Amen to get blessing 219. You are not the person they hurt, you are the survivor of their storm. And now, all they can do is watch from the shadows, silently regretting every step they took away from you. They didn't know the pain would lead to your transformation. You owe them no words. Your presence said it all, and when they saw you, for the first time in a long time, they felt small in the light of your healing. They're sitting with the reality that they didn't just lose someone. They lost someone divine. Someone who could have loved them endlessly, but who chose to love themselves more. And that is what pierced them the most. Type Amen to get blessing 701. They are haunted by your glow. Not the kind that comes from makeup or clothing, but the glow of someone who's been through the fire and still shines. You've become their living reminder that people don't break, they evolve. What they saw wasn't just a person, it was a miracle in motion. You were proof that healing happens, even after the deepest cuts, and now they can't stop looking back. They're wondering how you managed to become this beautiful, this focused, this untouchable. But the truth is simple. You stopped waiting for their apology and started becoming the version of yourself that heaven had always seen. Type Amen to get blessing 588. Archangel Michael says, that moment they saw you was no accident, it was a spiritual checkmate. You rose from what they tried to bury you in, and now your existence humbles their ego. The very presence they dismissed has now become the presence they fear missing out on. They wanted to believe you were still stuck. But your eyes told a different story, one filled with wisdom, grace, and fire. You didn't just heal, you transformed into prophecy. They were shocked not because you looked different, but because you felt different. The energy around you was magnetic, and they couldn't escape it. You were no longer touchable by their old tricks. Type Amen to get blessing 911. Now they lurk silently, watching your journey from afar. They pretend they're unaffected, but their silence screams louder than words. They saw you winning, and it cracked their illusion. The person they left was fragile, but the one they saw now was forged in storms and kissed by divine favor. You carry something rare, peace. Not the kind that's loud, but the kind that unsettles those who thrive on drama. They didn't realize how powerful you were until they saw you thriving without them. And now, they're stuck in a loop, wishing for a second chance they no longer deserve. Type Amen to get blessing 302. You've moved beyond them, not just emotionally, but spiritually. Their chapter has ended, but yours is still being written with power, clarity, and purpose. You no longer need validation, because your energy speaks for itself. They regret leaving you, but they regret it in silence. Pride won't let them speak, and your growth won't let them near. That's the punishment they created for themselves. You are not the same, you are refined. You are chosen. Type Amen to get blessing 120. They see you in places they never imagined. In someone's laughter, in someone's story. In the energy that walks into the room and makes people stop and feel. They once looked at you as someone who needed them. But now, they're the ones who feel the void. The silence between you now feels heavier than any conversation could ever be. There was a time they thought they knew you. But what they saw when you passed by wasn't the old version, they saw someone reborn. And that shook them deeper than they could admit. Type Amen to get blessing 448. They've watched you from fake accounts, heard your name in circles, and felt the chill in their spine when someone else praised you. They were hoping you'd remain a memory, but you became a movement. And now, their pride is no match for the storm inside their heart. You weren't supposed to survive their absence. But you didn't just survive, you flourished. That image of you now lives rent-free in their thoughts. They thought you'd wither. Instead, you became rare. Sacred. Untouchable. Type Amen to get blessing 293. They can't explain it, but they feel it. You walk into rooms with a quiet authority now. You speak less but say more, and your glow can't be copied. They tried to replace you, to forget you, to downplay your essence. But when they saw you again, everything came crashing back. You were never average, you were always divine. Their hearts sank because they realized you were the lesson they weren't ready to learn. And now, you're the blessing they no longer qualify for. The message has been delivered, and it came wrapped in your presence. Type Amen to get blessing 860. Archangel Michael says, they weren't prepared to face the truth, that you were chosen. Your light came from pain they never bothered to understand. But now that light blinds them every time they try to look back. They left thinking you'd fall apart. Instead, you became art, the kind of beauty sculpted through suffering, resilience, and grace. Every time they hear your name now, their soul aches. Not out of hatred, but regret. They didn't lose someone, they lost someone anointed. Type Amen to get blessing 646. Your voice has power now. Your silence has weight. And your name is carried by whispers of awe. They wish they had stayed, but not out of love. Out of fear of being forgotten by someone unforgettable. You're etched in their story, whether they admit it or not, and that's a permanent scar they'll carry forever. You didn't have to announce your glow up. Your energy did the talking. And it said, I am no longer where you left me. Type Amen to get blessing 704. They felt your power before they saw your face. That's how far you've come. You became a frequency, not just a person. They couldn't handle the storm they created, and they definitely can't handle the calm you've become. You are no longer angry, you are aligned, and that peace is louder than any argument. They stare now, not out of arrogance, but awe. How did you become this unstoppable force? The answer? Grace. Type Amen to get blessing 511. You didn't try to make them jealous. You just healed, and healing made you glow differently. You stopped chasing and started attracting. They keep replaying that moment, the way your eyes didn't flinch. The way your energy stayed composed. You didn't have to remind them of what they lost. Life did it for you. And every reminder is wrapped in silence, elegance, and fire. Type Amen to get blessing 899. Archangel Michael says, you were a gift they mishandled. And now, the universe made sure they saw the wrapping they never bothered to open. You didn't get even, you got elevated. They thought their absence would break you, but it built you. And now, you are a testimony they can't outrun. You are living proof that being left behind doesn't mean the end. Sometimes, it's the beginning of becoming untouchable. You are divine confirmation that rejection is redirection. Type Amen to get blessing 363. Now, they search for traces of you in others. But your frequency is one of a kind. No matter how many people they meet, none will carry your essence. They can't explain to others why they stare longer, why they scroll back, why they suddenly go quiet when your name comes up. It's because they saw the light they once had access to, and they fumbled it. They lost you, not because you changed, but because you evolved. And now, you are too far for their apology to reach. You have ascended. Type Amen to get blessing 717. They remember the days when they could call you, and your voice would lift them. Now, they hesitate even to type a message. They know your silence means boundaries, and your presence is sacred. What they feel now is a mixture of nostalgia and guilt. They miss the you they never truly appreciated, but you no longer have space for those who only see your worth once you're out of reach. Your evolution is their echoing consequence. And their shock is the divine reminder that what's meant for you will never need to be chased. Type Amen to get blessing 929. They may pretend they're fine. But their spirit trembled the moment they laid eyes on you. Your growth wasn't surface, it was spiritual. They felt something sacred and untouchable surrounding you now. They can't laugh it off anymore. They can't block what they felt in that second. That moment they saw you, even the air around them felt heavier. They felt small in your presence, not because you tried to belittle them, but because you outgrew the space they once occupied in your life. You are the one that got away, not by luck, but by alignment. And now, they carry that realization like a hidden bruise. Type Amen to get blessing 544. They weren't ready to see you at peace, they weren't ready to witness your freedom. Your joy, your shine. But they did, and it shook them to their core. They tried to walk past you without looking, but their heart turned around long before their feet did. Your glow spoke louder than anything they had ever told themselves to believe. They've told others you've changed, what they really mean is they no longer have access to your soul. And that burns. Type Amen to get blessing 112. You didn't need revenge. The way you live now is the greatest response to everything they said, did, and assumed about you. You became your own closure. The life you're walking into now is heaven's way of proving that being forgotten by them was necessary for you to be remembered by the divine. You were not destroyed, you were protected. And when they saw you again, they didn't just see you, they saw everything they lost in one gaze. That pain is theirs to carry now. Type Amen to get blessing 836. Archangel Michael says, your presence now teaches a lesson. Don't underestimate a soul protected by heaven. You didn't beg for them to stay because your soul already knew their chapter had ended. The divine had already begun writing your next one. They mistook your silence for weakness, but you were listening to God, not to noise. And now, you move in silence but shine in power. They are shaken. Not because you became someone new, but because you finally became who you were always meant to be. Their shock is the price of their arrogance. Type Amen to get blessing 667. There's a glow in your eyes now that wasn't there before. Not from someone else loving you, but from you finally loving yourself. That is what they feared the most. You no longer need to be chosen by those who walked away, you've been claimed by destiny. Your story no longer fits their hands. They wish they had stayed, not to offer love, but to stay close to your blessing. But it's too late. You've become the blessing. Type Amen to get blessing 550. They faked strength when they left. Now they fake peace watching you from a distance. But the truth is written all over their silence. Their soul aches when your name is spoken. Because they didn't just leave you, they abandoned someone heaven had anointed. And now they know. No conversation will fix what they ruined. No apology will undo the distance. You have been moved into protection. Type Amen to get blessing 448. They watched you become the version of yourself that even they secretly prayed for. But they won't admit it. Instead, they stay in the shadows of your success, clapping silently with trembling hands. You became their turning point, and their turning away was their greatest mistake. You were not just the one that healed, you are the one they never deserved. Their guilt is not loud, but it is persistent. Every time they smile, a memory of you interrupts. Every time they try to forget, your glow brings them back. Type Amen to get blessing 288. Your story was not one of revenge, it was of resurrection. And that is what they witnessed. A soul risen from ashes, walking without apology. You don't have to say a word. The universe is speaking for you now, and heaven is making sure your light reaches places their hands will never touch. You are no longer where they left you. And they are no longer welcome where you've been lifted. Let them feel what they once ignored. Type Amen to get blessing 933. You are now the moment they never saw coming. The person they tried to walk away from has become the version they cannot reach again. That silent realization is their daily torment. They tried to define you by the version they last saw, but life rewrote your entire essence since then. You're not only stronger, you're untouchable, and that's what hit them the hardest. Your name now carries something they never imagined: reverence. When people speak of you now, it's not with pity, it's with awe. And somewhere deep inside, they know they don't belong in your story anymore. Type Amen to get blessing 334. They didn't think twice when they left. But they haven't stopped thinking ever since they saw you again. You became the chapter they closed too early. And now, no matter how much they scroll, search, or sit in silence, your presence lives in their regrets. You didn't need a microphone to tell them they lost you, your glow did all the talking. You don't have to explain your evolution to anyone, especially not to those who only saw your worth once you were gone. You were meant to be seen by those who can hold you in your fullness. Type Amen to get blessing 778. Archangel Michael says, the reason they're so shaken is because your presence reminded them of their failure to honor you. they saw you and realized that what they left behind was never broken, it was becoming. And now that it's complete, they no longer fit. You carry an energy now that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, and doesn't lower itself. That's what shocked them. You found peace, and peace changed your posture. The glow they saw on your face was not from the world, it was divine. They thought time would erase your power, but it only magnified it. Now, they carry your memory like a lesson written in fire. Type Amen to get blessing 499. They lost access, not because of punishment, but because of purpose. You've risen into a realm their energy can't enter anymore. The gate has closed, and only those aligned with truth can step forward now. And as they stare at you from across the distance, they are met with a truth they can't deny: you were the one. Not just for them, but for something much greater. And now, they can only look and never touch. You owe them nothing. Not even a glance. Your journey speaks volumes, and it says, "This version of me is not available for those who left the room before the light came on." Type Amen to get blessing 922.